The Chunin Exams arc is universally regarded as one of the best arcs in Naruto, whether it be the iconic battles, introduction of key characters and their abilities, or the plot implications. We can all agree that the Chunin Exams left us all satisfied as anime fans. However, what if the final stage of the Chunin Exams went differently? What if the matchups were swapped? What if the Chunin Exams were reordered? That is what we'll be exploring today, but before we begin diving into anything, if you like Naruto discussions and battle breakdowns like this, feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and make sure to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out when new content drops. But I will not be doing this video by myself. No, today I have a very special guest. He's been on the channel before, and I've been on his channel before, and I look forward to many, many more videos with him. This is my good buddy Lightning Snow. Say what's up, man.
What's going on, everybody? Back today for a video. Glad to be on the channel. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, dude. Anytime. I'm so excited for this video. We did a video before on his channel talking about how Shino matched up against a lot of the other, Chunin Exams combatants. So make sure to go check that out. Show him some love. Give him a sub if you haven't already. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it, man. So you want to sort of break down the structure of this video, sort of what we're going to be talking about and how we're going to be going over this?
Yeah. So if y'all really couldn't tell at this point, we're just kind of revamping the whole order of the Chunin Exams final rounds. I don't know if Sage is gonna put the bracket on the. I'm assuming he is, but we revamped it a little bit just to kind of see like how things would have been different. You have people like Naruto versus Gaara the first round, Shikamaru versus Shino, Sasuke versus Temari, Neji versus Kankura. All these ideas that because to preface it, people always wondered how Sasuke and Neji would have gone if they had fought. So it's very interesting to see all these other combatants fighting each other in this crazy arc in and even of itself. So yeah, I mean, I know I'm kind of rambling, but I'm excited for this video too because it's my favorite arc in the series, and this is like one of the peaks of that arc. And so yeah, it's just really cool to see how these combatants would have fought each other had it been different.
Yeah. So essentially, whenever they determined who was going to fight who in the final round of the Chunin Exams, it was a random roll. So what we did was we just randomly re-rolled them, and these are the results that we came up with. So I think that fate smiled upon us, and we got some really, really cool matchups. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. In the first round, we have Naruto versus Gaara, starting off with an absolute banger. So Lightning and I have talked about this, and I think that we've come to the conclusion together that Gaara should win this. Now, I will preface this by saying we are going to be breaking these down within the parameters of the rules and regulations of the Chunin Exams. Because of that, Naruto can't summon Gamabunta, and Gaara can't go in his transform state. But I don't see a way that Naruto, realistically has the damage output to really do anything to Gaara here. Even if he goes into his partial QB amp, it's just to me, Gaara's sand defense is way too much. And then they both are chakra monsters, so Naruto's not gonna just out stamina him. What do you think, Lightning? You think how do you think this fight sort of goes?
So in at first glance, I know a lot of people would probably say because Naruto won against Gaara, in the later on in the arc, that Naruto should win. But like you said, if we're going by the rules and regulations, I mean, Naruto was crapping his pants at the idea of fighting Gaara. So
yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. We may not even be going into this with a mental amp, because Naruto gets those from time to time. Let's be honest, Naruto gets those mental amps every now and then, and it's one of those things where it could probably take, because he wasn't really scared about fighting Neji when the fight actually started. So what would happen is Naruto just goes with basic shadow clones or whatever, and Naruto's not really known for being a speedster, at this point.
Right.
And he was totally taken off guard by how fast Lee was. So I can't see Naruto being fast enough to even penetrate the sand shield, much less the sand armor. And like I said, without Gamabunta, there's really, I don't know. I mean, unless he is in a predicament where he's able to summon the Nine Tails chakra that he used against Neji, then I do think it's more likely that he puts up a fight. But it's one of those things where I don't know, he always has the firepower to penetrate Gaara, I feel in that state.
Yeah.
But the speed, I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know that Naruto was as fast as Weightless Lee. I think it's say that they're comparable, but I don't know. I can't say like specifically with all certainty.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm of the opinion that we talked about this before the video, that like Neji can definitely react to like fourth gate, third gate levels of speed, like in terms of Lee, but we're not necessarily sure if he can move that fast because, like, you know, there are the implications from their fight that, or from Lee and Gaara's fight, that Neji was like surprised by, you know, that fourth and fifth gate level of speed. So like, I do think that he could probably react to him in those states, but I'm not sure if he can physically move that fast. So then whenever you see Naruto and Neji like moving on pace with each other, Neji going all out and then Naruto in the QB amp, it's sort of unquantifiable, but like I personally put it somewhere between that, like, you know, Weightless Lee and third gate Lee levels of speed. So that being said, like in his QB amp form, that's sort of around where I have Naruto at. So versus Gaara, it should be enough to get him past his sand defense. I'm just not entirely certain that like his strikes are going to do much to him. And now if we were taking their feats all the way through, you know, the Konoha Crush, which I understand takes place like right afterwards, but again, massive mental amps there. Like Naruto is very, very clearly mental amp because he summons like 2,000 shadow clones or whatever. So, you know, which is not something he was able to do, you know, in his battle against Neji. So like he was getting winded by the end of it, and you know, this is summoning a couple hundred shadow clones, not at maximum. So like, of course, in the Konoha Crush, like in the forest, you know, he does in base go toe to toe with like a transformed Gaara, but we're not taking the feats all the way up to there specifically for that, like because we don't know like what level that mental amp was at. You know, we also don't know where Sasuke was at in terms of his, you know, curse mark. So because it's unquantifiable leaps in power, we just wanted to take where they're at in the Chunin exams. And I personally don't think that in the Chunin exams, Naruto is on that level. I think it probably goes like Lightning said. He summons a bunch of clones, tries to fight against him, can't get past his stand. He's crapping his pants because he like just saw this guy, you know, murder two like Jonin. Yeah. And he's like, I gotta get out of here. Like, honestly, if things go the same way that they did in the series, except for the reordering of the fight, Naruto might just forfeit. Like Naruto was like, Sasuke's got to get out of there, dude. Like he was like, Sensei, you got to stop this fight, bro.
Yeah.
So,
well, honestly, yeah. I could see that. Like the thing of being is if this fight goes similar to the duration, at least, like how Naruto and Neji would, because like Naruto was going a minute before he even summoned Kurama, and he was almost at death's door. If we put that same Naruto in this fight, then he might get killed before he even gets the chance to ask Kurama for chakra.
Yeah.
I mean, point blank, like Gaara might end the fight well before he even thinks to, you know, summon the chakra from the Nine Tails. So,
yeah, because he's not gonna sit there and like monologue like Neji. He's not gonna be like, "You're a failure. Yeah. Destiny's against you." You know, he's just gonna.
Yeah. So. I mean, I hate doing it to our boy, but I mean, Gaara's a tank right here, and without the mental amp or Kamabunto that he had in the forest, yeah, I can't really see Naruto pulling again. If he is able to summon the Nine Tails chakra, I do think it's in the realm of possibility he takes a W. But yeah, for the most part, I would say that Gaara wins this one.
Yeah, totally agree. Again, if he gets the QB amp, it's way more arguable. I do think it could damage him. You know, he could probably keep up with him in terms of speed, get past the sand defense. But at the end of the day, you know, Naruto had a ton of advantages in that fight because of the fact that Neji was, you know, so arrogant. And, you know, because of the fact that Kurama unlocking his chakra points really gave him a massive advantage over the ability that Neji had. So yeah, I think you know, Gaara wins this. If Naruto gets the QB amp, it's probably high difficulty. But I do think he probably ends it before Naruto even gets it, because also one final point here, like Naruto didn't even think to access the QB chakra until he was like on the ground, like face down. So like this isn't something Naruto like was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just, you know, pump this chakra into my system and get this amp. It was like the only way that I can overcome my chakra points being shut down is by accessing a different. It's not looking good for our boy. So Gaara wins either really high difficulty if Naruto somehow accesses that chakra, or I would say relatively low difficulty if he doesn't.
Right. I agree.
But Yeah, but moving on to the next matchup, we have a really interesting one. I think that there's a clear winner, but I also think like it's a really interesting battle because of the way that, you know, these fighters fight each other and how they would combat one another. We have Shikamaru versus Shino. I love both these characters. I'm actually more partial to Shikamaru, especially early in the series. But I think it's pretty clear that Shino wins this. So what do you think, Lightning?
Yeah, I agree. We may have touched up on this in the video we had on my channel, but
yeah, go check that out. Show it some love.
The thing is like, I hate saying this. What's Shikamaru gonna do? Like, all he's gonna do is I mean, he's gonna catch like even let's say that we give Shikamaru the slack of him actually being able to catch Shino in the shadow, which I don't think it's out of the possibility because Shino's not really fast himself. But he catches Shino in the shadow. Like, he can't simultaneously catch all the beetles that he has in his shadow either. So,
right.
Worst case, or best case, actually, he catches Shino in the shadow, but then he's going to have to release him because the bugs are going to be constantly chasing Shikamaru, thereby releasing the shadow from Shino. So, and conversely, Shino has so many ways of playing, you know, the distance and keeping himself safe from any attacks that Shikamaru really has at his disposal. So
yeah,
I hate being this fast about it, but I think Shino will just win by running the clock out if it need at the worst case scenario.
Yeah, well, and even if Shikamaru does get him in a shadow possession, like, he has beetles that eat chakra, and the shadow is literally chakra. Like, we've seen it absorbed by Momoshiki, so there's no evidence to me that would say that the beetles couldn't literally eat through it like they ate through like Kankuro's chakra cords. So like, or chakra strings or whatever. So yeah, I think, you know, this is just a hard counter for Shikamaru. Like, I would love to think that my boy with his 200 plus IQ could just like think up just a wild strategy, you know, to get him. But again, even if he does get him, it doesn't really matter. And this is another example of, you know, he might just give up because the only reason he even fought in the preliminaries and in the final round is because he didn't want to lose to a girl. Like, he was like, oh my God, what a drag. Like, I can't lose to a girl. So like, he might just be like, yep, I can't beat this guy. I give up.
Like,
so
even if this was like the Sasuke retrieval of Shikamaru, I'd be more apt to give it to Shikamaru because he has an extra
for sure
move up his sleeve. But this one, he doesn't. He just has him, like, he has to rely on catching people in the shadow position, and I don't know. I don't know what he. Yeah. I really don't know what he'd be able to do to Shino that could end the fight in his favor.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I think it's pretty clear that, you know, Shino wins this. Love my boy Shikamaru, but he just really doesn't have much of a chance. But moving on to the next round, we have Sasuke versus Temari. I think this one is also pretty self-explanatory. I think Sasuke just murder blitzes, and it's not even close. What do you think, Lightning?
Well, for starters, the fact that like she along with everybody else in the room in the preliminary rounds was completely just taken back by Lee's speed. The fact that she wouldn't be even remotely thinking that Sasuke would be that fast, especially after seeing him fight in the preliminaries, barely surviving, she probably wouldn't expect that speed right off the get-go. So honestly, I don't think that fight gets even like if they're both fresh chakra. Like he's gonna take her off guard the same way Gaara was taken off guard in his match with Sasuke. Like, he wasn't expecting Sasuke to be that fast either, and in that state of confusion, if he really wanted to end the fight, he's gonna Chidori Temari, and that's gonna be it. Like, Temari has, she can, if she gets distance enough, sure, but again, I don't think the match even gets that far. I think he'll be too quick for her to react in time. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, and I do think so. She's got a good feat of reacting to like weightedly, but like that's not the same as weightlessly. Like, there's a very, very clear difference in speed. And so, like you said, like, she wouldn't be expecting Sasuke to have that level of speed because the last time she saw him, he wasn't that fast.
Yeah.
So I genuinely think like maybe she tries to get some distance, fire a big, wind style jutsu, and he just blitzes around it, gets her in a lion's barrage, and it's over. Like, I genuinely don't think Sasuke breaks a sweat in this fight. So yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that Sasuke wins this. I mean, even if they fight at long range, while she might have the advantage, he can still use long range jutsu like the fire style that he has. So Sasuke just has way too many advantages, especially when it comes to like speed and close quarters combat. So Sasuke wins, minimal difficulty. And then we move on to a super interesting one. I think this might be the most interesting one in the first round. I do think there's a clear winner, but we have Neji versus Kankuro. So how do you see this fight going, Lightning? I think it's pretty interesting.
It is. The only thing that I will say is like Sage mentioned this to me before we started recording. Like these are two examples of two completely different fighters. Like Neji is obviously close quarters and Kankuro is obviously long range. I will say that I think right from the get-go that Neji should be able to just go ahead and break through Crow, like with his
absolutely.
But Neji's not used to fighting A, long range people that I know of, and B, people who are expert in poison, or at least for the Genin level expert in poison.
Yeah.
And Shino was completely taken back by every freaking mechanic that Crow had when it came to poison. Now he was able to survive, but at some point Shino was, caught with the poison. So let's say, like, for example, like Kankuro tries to charge Crow at Neji and Neji uses rotation. If he doesn't completely break Crow into 1,000 pieces, according to Kankuro, every part of Crow is a lethal weapon. So if there's even such like a small smidge of like a contraption from Crow that has poison, like if Neji's not expecting it, then he might catch Neji with some poison and like in the fight. I mean, regulations aside, like I don't see a reason why the proctor would necessarily call the match like right then. I mean, he might be thinking like, okay, since Neji's caught with poison, it's only a matter of time before he actually kicks the bucket, so we'll call this match. And yeah, because he's not surviving one way or the other. So like, I know they say it's to the death or until one admits defeat, but like the proctors are sometimes adamant about stopping the fight if they think it's gonna not go that far anymore. So I could see Gemma like saying like, all right, he's poisoned, like we need to kind of call this. But maybe I'm giving Kankuro too much credit. I just think that like with how looking back at the Crow and how he if what he said is true, that every piece of Crow is like a lethal weapon, and assuming that Neji doesn't break Crow into 1,000 pieces, like literally 1,000 pieces, then who knows? I mean, Kankuro may get that win. I know it's very like precise and specific, but like when it comes to matches like that might happen.
Yeah, I definitely think that he has the win condition of getting him with the poison if he's off guard. I just think and I think you would agree, like Neji's base speed plus his Byakugan like was able to keep him from getting hit one time by like dozens or like 100 shadow clones from Naruto all coming at him at once. So like I don't see a reason why Kankuro's puppets would be any faster than that version of Naruto, to be honest with you. Like they kind of are ambiguous in terms of speed scaling. So even if you want to give them a slight advantage over that base Naruto speed, like to me it's just, I don't think it's very likely that he gets tagged, and I think it's much more likely that he finds a way around the puppets, maybe even like severs the chakra strings, because we know that he's able to like see that and do that to Hidomaru's like sort of arrow, so I think that you can make an argument that he cuts through the chakra string, like blitzes around Crow, cuts through the chakra strings, severs his connection to him, and then just like one tap shut down the chakra points of Kankuro, and then just monologues over him about how he's a failure. Like Neji just like has a much more likely win condition in just using his massive speed advantage in Byakugan and close quarters combat to take down Kankuro. But it may, depending on where you scale Crow's speed, Kankuro does have that win condition, and it may be difficult for Neji to get close to him. So it might take a while. So
I think what I guess I have to retract my earlier statement is that like I don't think that like, because Shino was able to avoid all the other poison attacks from Kankuro except for the poison fog. That was what I meant by like him getting, because I don't think, like you said, I don't think he's getting a stab on Neji. But I think that if like say he breaks Crow, like say like it would, like Neji doesn't have to use rotation either. He can just like if he tries to charge Crow at Neji you can just cut it in half maybe one time, but then like if Kankuro so chose to release a cloud of poison, and if Neji's not expecting it, because and I don't think he would be, because he didn't expect, because Kankuro didn't use poison in the preliminary, so he doesn't know anything about Crow having poison in his body. So I think that if Crow released a cloud of poison close enough, and if Neji inhaled even a little bit, we saw that even a little bit was enough to, incapacitate Shino. So I think that there's that chance by the element of surprise. But I mean, I guess you could honestly make the argument that since Neji has Byakugan, that he might see like some poison contraptions in Crow. I don't know.
That's a good point.
So I think it's very like precise. Like if Kankuro does win, it's like he has to have like a lucky shot in with the poison fog.
Yeah. Again, like I do think it is a win condition. I think that we're in agreement, like that Neji's win condition of like just his superior speed and close quarters combat is probably more likely. So like I do think that we can get, like if they fought 10 times, I would give Kankuro with his poison like 2 or 3 wins, just like because Neji is arrogant, so he is susceptible to being caught off guard, as we saw with Naruto. Like he has the Byakugan and like thought that, and he had it active, and he didn't see Naruto tunneling underground to like come uppercut him. And we know he can see through solid surfaces, so he should have been able to see him. So like it's just an arrogance thing. Like, so it is 100% possible for Neji to get caught off guard. I just think like more likely than not, he closes the distance, shuts down his Tenketsu points, maybe even cuts off his ability to use Crow. Mm-hmm. So I would say if they fought 10 times, I would give it to Neji probably 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kankuro definitely does have that win condition. So as far as the next matchup, we're going to go back to the other side of the bracket, and we've got Gaara versus Shino. Now, this one is really interesting, but I don't want to spend too much time on it because we did talk about it in our other video on Lightning's page. So go check that out if you guys want to know more about it. But like the gist of it is basically Gaara is like the worst matchup for somebody like Shino, because Shino's main win condition is like using his bugs to sap away your chakra and, sort of put you in a bad spot in terms of chakra fatigue. And he just can't do that to Gaara. Like, first of all, because Gaara has an immense amount of chakra. But secondly, like, we're not sure if it would even work because he wouldn't be able to get on him if he has that sand shell. So, like, yeah. What do you want to add anything to that?
No, like I said, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, even if we go off the side, like mental state, Shino was never really hot on the idea of having to fight Gaara. And Shino's one of the calm and composed characters, and even he was sweating bullets at the idea of possibly fighting Gaara. But that aside, what are the Beatles going to do? Like, even if he manages to get all the Beatles on him, which I'm not so sure if he could do. Like, I know like there's a chance that this Beatles could eat through the sand because it's being held together by chakra. Like, if we take how much chakra like Gaara could possibly funnel in with him being a Jinchuriki, I know there's a case that can be made that Gaara doesn't have full control over how much chakra he can use as far as like his own chakra or the Shikaku chakra, but I just can't see the Beatles actually being able to penetrate Gaara either by the shield or by the sand armor or by Gaara himself. Like, they have to go through a lot just to get to Gaara. So I don't know if Shino could play that game long enough before Gaara can actually get the kill on him.
Yeah, and even without like the sand armor, like the automatic sand defense, it's stated to like automatically respond to any attacks. Mm-hmm. So if it registers, like you could make an argument that it would register the Beatles as an attack because like Gaara knows that the Beatles are sort of like Shino's way of utilizing he utilizes them in combat, so that's his way of attacking. So like you could make a legitimate argument that it wouldn't even get past, the Beatles wouldn't even be able to get past the initial like automatic sand defense. Yeah. So you just have to make a lot of assumptions in order to get Shino in a position to even tag Gaara. But then even if he's able to tag Gaara with the beetle that drains away his chakra, like it's just really, really difficult to say that he would be able to do that before he gets like sand coffin. So yeah. I think it's pretty self-explanatory there. So then we have, Gaara coming out of that side of the bracket. And then on the other side of the bracket, we have one of the most hotly debated topics in the Naruto community, Sasuke versus Neji. Now, I want to re-emphasize this is within the constraints and regulations of the Chunin Exams tournament. So Sasuke does not have access to the curse mark here. We're also only using feats up to this point in the story. So like we're not taking anything post final round of Chunin exams because again, Naruto and Sasuke both get like major mental amps, and then as the Shikaku transformation for Gaara, we can't take that into consideration either. So just want to reiterate that this is what we're basing this fight off of. And with that being said, Lightning, do you want to sort of go over our thoughts on this?
Yeah. So obviously, but most matches like this, they'd probably start with close quarters. I know they'd probably throw some Shuriken or Kunai or something like that to start, but eventually, at some point, they'd be getting close quarters. And it's weird because, initially, like, it'd be crazy close quarters because, yeah, like, Neji hands pretty quick, but then Sasuke's also got the Sharingan, so it's like one of those things, like, who comes out on top? I personally would give the close quarters aspect to Neji, like, 6, 7 out of 10. Because, Sasuke's fast, and his reaction time is, is pretty good, but, I don't know, I don't think it's as fast. Like, I think he could keep up decent enough, but I think at some point, Neji's going to hit that chakra point. Now, I'm not so sure that Sasuke, because Sasuke's not Naruto, right? Especially if we go off the assumption that Kakashi, like, told Sasuke who all is in the final round and this and that. Like, oh, yeah, you have a Hyuga. You probably shouldn't go close quarters. I could totally see Kakashi telling them something like that. Like I need to keep my distance. So, I don't know. And personally, like we said earlier in the video, like, if Sasuke tried to get some distance, but eventually he's going to have, because he's not going to be able to rely on fire style all day long. Like, for one thing, I don't think Neji's like slow enough for Sasuke to have to land a fireball jutsu. Quick enough to use rotation on it, but so he's not going to be able to rely on long distance forever. So his best bet is going to have to land Chidori, and I don't know if he'd be quick enough because, like we said earlier in the video, like. Whenever, and if y'all want to read back on it or like rewatch the episode, Neji was not really like at all surprised when Weightless Lee started fighting. Like, he was just casually watching like it was nothing. And it was only until he entered like the 3rd to 4th gate where he's like, oh, this is Lee? Like, who is this kid? And so there's a good chance that like Sasuke's new acquired speed is not going to be enough to really surprise or even catch Neji off guard. Thereby meaning that there's a good chance that Chidori won't like make much of a difference.
Yeah, so this all comes down to like speed scaling, because like Lightning pointed out, both of these fighters tend to go into close quarters combat early. If you make the assumption that like Kakashi told Sasuke about the Byakugan and the Gentle Fist and stuff, then maybe you could make an argument like Lightning said that he doesn't go close quarters early, but in terms of their base speed, like we know, again, Neji totally unreactive to Weightless Lee, didn't even activate his Byakugan until he goes into like the 4th gate. So like he was like phased by it. So you could at least make an argument that he's on that tier of speed, meaning that Sasuke would even have a difficult time getting away from him. Like, even if he wants to create distance in the fight, it might be difficult for him to do that, especially because in order to access that level of speed, he can't even do it for very long. Like Lee points out, like, yeah, he can get there, but he's not used to it. So like it takes an incredible amount of stamina. Yeah. So if you want to make the argument that like he runs away, tries to get some distance, fires off a couple fireballs, he's going to get tired really quickly. And Neji's going to be able to close that distance and just like shut him down. And again, if we take their feats in, the later on, part of this Konoha Crush arc, you could factor in the idea that like if he gets his chakra point shut down, maybe he could like bust them back open with the curse mark, but like that's not available to him here. So I think personally, like this comes down to one of two things. The first thing is, Neji should have at bare minimum the same level of speed as Sasuke, if not greater than him. Therefore, if he can close the distance, which he should be able to, he basically has an automatic win condition in just shutting down Sasuke's chakra points. And he's no slouch in terms of taijutsu. He's really, really good, Sasuke is. And his Sharingan gives him great perception, but like, he just does not have the edge in close quarters combat. So
I will. Okay,
like
so
Lightning. Go ahead.
One thing I will say, I think to touch up on something you just said, this for something that, for y'all who make me think he's saying that he's not saying that like Lee is travel speed fast as Sasuke. What he's saying is like Neji should be comfortably able to react to Sasuke's speed. Like Sasuke's speed
Yeah.
is not going to be able to catch Neji much off guard. So like that's like obviously Neji can't move as fast as Lee, but considering the look on Neji's face whenever he saw Lee, it's pretty clear that I would imagine like Weightless Lee and Neji have probably sparred a couple times, and Neji is used to that kind of combat speed. Another thing I want to touch up on too is we talked about this before we started recording is Sasuke's best bet is going to be Chidori, right? And even that's questionable whether he can get it off. His best bet is if he tries to charge at Neji with Chidori, and like this is something I don't really know if Neji's rotation, if the shield pops up before he starts spinning, or if it's when it starts when he starts spinning is when the rotation's like shield actually pops up. But because I don't think Chidori is penetrating the shield once it's through. Like it's said that like whatever chakra or attack is going to be colliding with it is going to deflect it right back at the attacker. So Sasuke's best bet is to land Chidori the second Neji starts spinning, or begins to start spinning, because then like the shield's not all the way up, so there's a really good chance that he might be able to land Chidori quick enough before Neji gets the rotation. Because like I imagine like rotation, like our Chidori is something that Neji was like, okay, yeah, I gotta use rotation there because it's too fast for me to really react. So like that's how he did it with Naruto when he started like running up to try to speed blitz him. Like I imagine Neji's gonna do the exact same thing. So yeah, Sasuke's best bet is to tag Neji before he gets the rotation off.
Yeah, well, and if he sees Sasuke with this handful of lightning chakra, like he's gonna be like, yeah, probably not a good idea for me to like try to block that or dodge it, so and again, like it's totally up in the air whether or not he's able to deflect it. And I know like a lot of people are gonna say, well, like you would have to think that the Chidori is more powerful than Naruto's QB amp kunai slash. It's like, yeah, I do think it probably has more piercing power, but Naruto wasn't stabbing. Naruto was like slicing against the rotation. Like he literally slices in the opposite direction and they counter each other. So like we're not really sure how a direct stab would go, even if he's able to get through the rotation, if it would be thrown off course a bit, or like it's just so unquantifiable and undeterminable whether or not he would actually be able to get through there and land a blow on Neji.
Here's the thing too, is like I want to say, like, I know I might get hate for this, but like, let's be honest. When you look back at it, the chakra that Naruto had in that fight with Neji, it's not that impressive considering like what he's able to do later on in the series. So it might seem impressive in the moment to compare like for Neji, but like my point in saying that is like I feel as though Chidori at its strongest is like should really be more powerful, because like it's able to freaking penetrate the Raikage's lightning armor. A base Chidori is still able to penetrate the Raikage's lightning armor. So I don't know. It's one of those things like I think it's the chakra is like exaggerated a bit in the moment because of like it's from the Genin's perspective. Whereas a Jonin, like maybe like I know like Gemma like in the match says like I've never seen anything like that chakra, but like it's the chakra itself. I don't know if like I don't know. My point is like I can't see Kakashi losing to something like that. I don't know. I feel as though the chakra that Naruto presented towards Neji was the clash with Sasuke Chidori. I'm not so sure, because even Naruto, when he saw Chidori, was still scared, and that was a Naruto who just got done fighting Neji. So even he thought that this Sasuke was like again, like I don't know, exceeding him again. So I don't know. I know I'm rambling about that. I just think it's like very specific.
No, it's a great point. And I think like there's obviously no like direct one-to-one scaling from like the QB amp kunai slash to the Chidori, but like just common sense should tell you that the Chidori should be stronger. I guess my point is like it's sort of 50-50 whether or not it lands, because the thing about the rotation is not that it directly stops attacks, it's that it redirects them as well, because he's spinning, he's rotating it away. So like you can make a legitimate argument that even if he can pierce it, that Neji's rotation might be able to throw it off course and prevent him from actually getting hit by it. We actually see obviously Kakashi's scale is way higher than anybody in the Chunin exams, but like Kakashi is outright able to like catch his wrist and toss him, whenever he's using the Chidori. So like you could make an argument that maybe if his perception is high enough, that he might be able to like in the middle of the rotation throw it off by like knocking his wrist off course. We see Itachi do something similar. So, it's just like it's totally unclear whether or not it lands. So I give it sort of a 50-50. It lands, it doesn't. So with that being said, even if you want to give Sasuke and Neji their most generous speed scalings, like getting Neji all the way up to like 4th, 5th gate Lee levels, and like Sasuke up to like 6th gate Lee based on like, the Chidori potentially offering a 6th gate level amp in terms of speed based on like, Kakashi in the war in base is on par with like base guy, but then like with the Chidori, he's on par with 6th gate guy. Like depending on how you want to interpret all of that stuff, at worst for Neji, Sasuke is able to like penetrate through the rotation, and it might land, it might get knocked off course. So I think just the fact that Neji's speed in base should be at least on par with his, and his reaction speed should be way above what base Sasuke can actually, do. I think that he has more win conditions than what Sasuke has.
Oh, for sure. I would say so too. If I had to do 1 to 10, I'd say like it's a very close fight, but I think I'd give this to Neji like 6, maybe 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the most consistent win condition is Neji closing the distance, tiring Sasuke out from using that weightless Lee level of speed, and eventually just like hitting his Tenketsu points. Mm-hmm. But then again, we do have the win condition of the Chidori in the back pocket. But again, it's 50-50. So I think we both agree we have Neji coming out of this round, and then we have an epic battle at the very end of this of Neji versus Gaara. It's super interesting for a lot of reasons. Lightning, you want to sort of break this down?
Well, like with Kankuro and Neji, it's there are two completely different fighters. Gaara is a tank that just so happens to have serious long range abilities, and Neji is a close quarters. And like we said earlier, it's one of those things where like speed scaling might play a factor, it may not. If Neji tries to get close quarters, I think he might be able to react quick enough to the sand attacks from Gaara, but could he throw hands fast enough for the Gentle Fist to penetrate Gaara? Now, it's one of those things like, could Neji's Gentle Fist do something to the sand shield and the sand armor? Because like Sage before, like mentioned before, the shield and the armor are both held together by chakra. So there's an argument that could be made that I don't know about the sand shield. I think it's a lot less arguable that Neji can penetrate the sand shield with Gentle Fist. Like, I don't know if he can like deteriorate chakra through the sand shield. I don't think he can personally, but if he's fast enough to like penetrate the sand shield and hit Gaara's sand armor, I do think that that's possible. I do think he can actually start, because we see that in the fight with Lee and Gaara, that once Lee hit Gaara, like the injuries were still there. Like Gaara still felt the injury. They just were lobbed off whenever the sand armor broke off. So, which implies that he still feels like pain, like he's still affected by the hits. So, if Neji is quick enough to penetrate the sand shield and actually hit Gaara's chakra points, then it's totally within the realm of possibility that he can shut down Gaara's chakra network.
Yeah, I think that you broke that down really, really well, because there's the argument to be made that like maybe he can't, get through the sand defense. Maybe the sand prevents it, like sort of like Kidomaru's sort of I don't even know what to call it, but the shield that he got kind of puts over his skin. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, as you alluded to, the sand is held together by chakra. So worst case scenario, if Neji hits the sand armor, it might be able to just disrupt the chakra flow through the sand, causing the sand to sort of fall apart. Similarly to how like he would be able to, like how he was able to cut through the spider webs whenever he was fighting Kidomaru, because he was able to slice the chakra that was holding the webs together. So it's weird. I do think that His speed scaling, again, should be at or above weightless Lee, because he was not surprised by that at all. He wasn't surprised until he got up into that fourth gate level. So you could make a legitimate argument that maybe he's around that weightless Lee to third gate level of speed in terms of combat speed. So I think he could get past that automatic sand defense, much in the same way that Sasuke and Lee were able to. And then it's just a matter of whether or not you think he's able to get through the sand armor, which to me, I think probably, like, I think whenever you look at the way that the Gentle Fist works, again, it breaks apart chakra. Like, it's able to slice through chakra, it's able to shut down chakra. So if he's able to land a blow, even if Gaara has the sand armor active, which he doesn't always have it active. You know, Kankuro talks about how it takes an incredible amount of chakra for him to maintain it. So you have to assume that whenever he gets past the automatic defense, which he should be able to do, that Gaara has the sand armor active already, and that Neji isn't able to actually strike his Tenketsu points or break through the sand armor using the Gentle Fist. And I think, like, it's a pretty big leap to go there. Like, what do you think?
I think that, like, the thing is, like, because if we take the account, like, how Guy was explaining the Gentle Fist in the preliminaries, like, we see that, like, Lee and Neji are two completely different fighters, right? So Gaara didn't really have much to worry about in terms of the sand armor, and in terms of, like, base Lee. He didn't have much to worry about when it came to the sand armor defending against Lee's attacks, because they were meant for, like, crushing blows, as Guy said. Like their attacks are meant to, like, cause, you know, severe physical damage. Whereas Neji, like, Gaara actually has something to worry about. Like like he can't just, you know, quote unquote shrug off an attack from Neji if it lands, because it's a different kind of attack. If Neji is able to get that attack off, then, like, yeah, like, Gaara's gonna be in a world of trouble, especially if he gets, you know, more than a few off. So if he's able to shut down his chakra points, even if it's just, like, a few, like, worst case, let's say Neji isn't able to shut off, like, or get the whole 160, but the 64 palms off. Even just shutting down a few of these chakra networks could, like, cause a chaos in Gaara's mind. Like, oh crap, like, what am I gonna do? And in the meantime, like, Neji's quick enough to capitalize on stuff like that, so, like, he might, I don't know. Point is, like, once Neji's, like, starts shutting off even just a few of Gaara's chakra networks, the scale gets tipped in Neji's favor because of how the match goes.
Yeah, I think the win condition that I could see for Gaara is Neji being arrogant, as he usually is, and allowing for himself to get caught off guard with some sort of, like, blindside sand attack. Because, again, like we talked about earlier, like, he can see underground, but he did not see Naruto underground tunneling, you know, through the earth to come deliver an uppercut on him, because he was so arrogant. You know, I can see a situation in which he thinks that he wins, but he actually doesn't. But again, Neji's win condition kind of counters that win condition, because if he thinks he's won, it's likely because he's landed, you know, a Gentle Fist blow that shut down some chakra. And then Gaara's not going to be able to control his sand. He's not going to be able to, you know, utilize one of his sand clones or, you know, a substitution or anything, because his chakra will be shut down. So to me, the way that I see this fight going, and let me know if you think the same thing, Lightning, is they start off, you know, sort of talking to each other, because Neji's going to, you know, talk crap to him, and Gaara's going to be like, you know, let's get on with it, whatever. Yeah. And then Neji's going to go directly into close quarters combat. I think that his speed, likely being on par with or greater than weightless Lee's level of speed, should allow for him to get past the automatic sand defense. And then it just comes down to whether or not Gaara has the sand armor on at the time, and then whether or not you think Neji would be able to penetrate the sand armor and actually hit his Tenketsu points, which I personally think that regardless if he has it on, I think Neji should be able to chop away at it by shutting down the chakra flow that's holding the sand together, eventually leading to him landing a blow on one of the Tenketsu points and ending the fight. What do you think about that?
So, I think I'll, you know, to re-backpack on how you thought the fight goes, I think it's similar. I'm still very wishy-washy about whether or not Neji can get through the shield itself. I think that Neji is as fast as Lee when it comes to reaction. Not like he's able to handle Lee's speed. I just don't know if he's that quick enough to throw hands. I could give it to Neji though. Like I could definitely see him actually getting through the sand shield. Like I'm not saying it's like not possible, but so if we did that, like then yeah, if he's able to get through the shield, I do think that it's totally within the realm of possibility that once he starts shutting off, because again, even if we assume that Gaara has the sand armor on, like the chakra point should still be effective one way or the other. So once you start down the chakra network, then it should relatively be game over, because once it's like a downhill spot, like a downhill spiral from there, like one of those, like a snowball effect. Like once one chakra network gets hit, like, and then the second one, this and that, then like even if he doesn't get all of them off, like Gaara is going to be in a mental state of like what to do. And me and Sage kind of were iffy about this like specific topic about whether or not Shukaku could probably do the same thing that Kurama did to Naruto, and subconsciously or otherwise pump chakra into Gaara. But we agreed that like if that was the case, it probably would come through as a transformation. In which case, then Gaara gets disqualified from the regulations of the tuning exams. That may be like a different scenario in and of itself, but we just don't see like Shukaku doing something like that, that Kurama did to Naruto. So we have to assume that if that was the case and he was able to pump chakra into Gaara, then like it'd have to come through as a transformation. Like I mean, I don't know. That's like the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, well, that's the only time that we ever see him at this point, like, or ever really, like, use chakra to help Gaara. And it's not even to help Gaara. It's like he waits for Gaara to get tired enough to where he can take over him. Like, Shukaku does not care about Gaara at all. He wants to be released. So even if you want to make the argument that like maybe he's able to access that chakra, like there's no evidence for him being able to access it freely like Naruto was, because you have to remember Naruto went through specific training with Jiraiya to learn how to access that second chakra within him so that he could summon Gamabunta. So like it's not a one-to-one thing. And then I know that we had talked about this before the video, like we just really wanted to hit on this because we knew that somebody was going to bring it up in the comment section, but like it's just not the same thing. Like Naruto training to learn how to access that, to pump more chakra into his own system manually, versus Gaara like basically having to rely on, getting tired enough for Shukaku to begin to take over his body. Two totally different things. And then also, like Lightning said, like he would just be DQ'd. Like if he partial transforms, like there's no way that Leaf Village is not going to be like, okay, yeah, this is it. Like we're not letting this happen.
Now that I think about it, like Gaara, I'm pretty sure Gaara is the only Jinchuriki we've ever seen that did not go into a tailed, like a cloaked version. To say that he could probably do it or not, like you'd have to do some mental gymnastics and like be a little bit like dishonest with yourself to just like go ahead and assume that Shukaku would pump chakra into Gaara like the same way Kurama did to Naruto. So yeah, I think that's something that we could use for Gaara. I could see someone like making a case, and I could see it as like a very like okay, I could see like a viable, like 10% viable case for Gaara, but I don't know. I don't think it's gonna happen more often than not.
Yeah, I just think at the end of the day, this is not a good matchup for Gaara, simply because like unhealthy Lee, like that had just like went through using the gates and everything and could like barely move, was still able to dodge Gaara's attacks, so like a healthy Neji should be able to dodge all of his attacks. I do think that his combat speed should allow for him to get past the sand defense, the automatic sand defense. And then again, like he doesn't attack the same way that Lee does. He attacks through the body, like through the chakra network. So I do think that his gentle fist should be a counter to the sand armor, which would allow for him to eventually, get the upper hand in this fight. And like Lightning said, it's just a downward spiral from there. So I think we agree that Neji wins this probably like 6 out of 10 times, maybe even 7 in my opinion. But it really just depends on like where you see their speed scaling at and how quickly you see this going down. So to review, we have in the first round, Gaara getting past Naruto. Even if he gets the QB amp, we don't really think Naruto has what it takes to handle Gaara at this point in time. Shikamaru loses to Shino. He just really can't make it interesting because Shino's a terrible matchup for him. Sasuke puts a beat down on Temari, no sweat. And then Neji and Kankuro, super interesting, but Neji more likely than not comes out on top. Then we have Gaara versus Shino. we know that that's not really a close matchup. There's nothing Shino can do. We got Sasuke versus Neji. In different circumstances, Sasuke might be able to pull out a dub, but more likely than not, Neji takes that. And then we have Neji versus Gaara, with Neji being a nightmare matchup for Gaara, just countering essentially all of his abilities. So at the end of the day, if the Chunin exams were reordered in this way, we have Neji coming out on top. Do you have any other remarks or closing thoughts on that, Lightning?
No, keep in mind, y'all, we did have to do this as a sort of tournament style, but because the thing is, like, now that I think about it, like, if they were to keep fighting back to back in an actual tournament, they'd be wore out by the time they got to each other combatant. So they're refresh them, like give them like a sensu bean from Dragon Ball or something like that every time they fought. So like, but no, I for the most part, yeah, I definitely agree with our list. I think we covered everything we just about. There's like a lot of cases to be made for each fighter, and I think we gave the biggest fairness that we could for each of these respective fights. So I agree with our list, and I thought this was a W video.
Yeah, well, dude, thank you for coming on, and like for anybody that has been watching, thank you for making it all the way to the end. Make sure to go check out Lightning Snow's stuff. He's got a fantastic page. He just crossed 2K not too long ago, so like, big W's over there. He posts community posts like every single day pretty much, so he can keep you guys engaged. Also fantastic video content. But as far as this video, make sure that if you guys like the video, make sure that you subscribe to not only my channel but also Lightning's. Hit the notification bell so you never miss out when new content drops. And if you disagree with anything, make sure to let us know in the comment section. But Lightning, thank you for coming on, man. It's been such a pleasure.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me on the channel for the first time. I'd love to have have you on the channel for my videos and your videos, and we got a thing going, guys. So just be ready for more content in the future.
Oh yeah, new content coming soon from both of us. But again, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day.